Uh,
Hey, welcome into this episode of Let's Rage Coogs presented by the Lazarine Law Firm. I'm joined here by Aqib Gazi and joining us as well, Kris Gardner and Dunlap. We're off the heels of Houston's, whew, what could we call that? Domination? Well, embarrassment might be a strong word. I think domination is the proper one, specifically in the second half. Second half shutout from Houston as Texas Tech defeated the Cougars 49-28. This is Let's Rage Cougs. We're going to be talking about everything that happened in the game on the other side of the intro.
It's time for the original Houston postgame show. Let's Rage Coogs.
So, a lot to get into. I mean, let's just start right off the bat. Who wants to take it? What happened in that second half? Overall, from Houston's offense, they look good in the first half. Complete turnaround second half, and the defense, special teams, really penalties. Overall, it was not a good performance from the Houston Cougars.
I'll go. First half, I think a lot of us, hey, this is what the offense was supposed to look like. This is what we expected. But you knew something was in the air when Check got the 100-yard kickoff return for a touchdown and then the block punt for a touchdown. And you're just like, the Cougars going to find another way to lose. First half, special teams beat them in the butt. Second half, defense. Texas Tech had two different guys for 100 yards apiece. Just ran over the Cougs, missed tackles, had penalties in the second half. Just a complete collapse by the defense. Donovan Smith. Offense was good first half. Second half, nothing. Bad teams find ways to lose.
Jaja on YouTube says another day, another Big 12 conference blowout loss. Ooh, this one was frustrating, Kris. We're thinking like whenever the kickoff return, the 100-yard kickoff return touchdown after Houston, you could have scripted a better start. They looked like they had figured out an identity on offense. They did a good job of being able to cycle when it came to Parker Jenkins having a balance. Donovan Smith looked crisp. He went 7 for 7 in that first drive. He was hitting multiple receivers. He scored for the touchdown. He had 50 yards on that drive. And then right off the bat for Texas Tech to be able to get that touchdown, not even put their quarterback, who, by the way, had not gotten reps leading into the week against Houston, and he was not the original starter for the Texas Tech Red Raiders heading into the season, obviously because Tyler Shook suffered that season-ending injury, and the Houston Cougars defense made it seem like he's been a 2-year, 3-year veteran to there.
Go ahead, Dayon. Go ahead, man. Got some profanity to use today, man.
nah, no profanity, no profanity, man. I think this game really just highlighted for me that really where Houston is in regards to the bottom tier of the Big 12 in regards to football programs. But not only that, I think what this program specifically this year has failed to do is play complementary football on all three levels in one game. It's been spurts where the offense wasn't that good and the defense was playing good, and there was times where the special teams was playing good, the offense wasn't playing good, or vice versa. And so today, I mean, the offense was on point really for the first time this season, or second time if you include the last game, and the defense couldn't get a stop in the first half. Second half, they was able to get stops and get the ball back into the offense for Houston to have opportunities to trim the lead or tie the lead. And so they complemented the offense in the second half, but the offense didn't come through, so they didn't complement each other. And so that's really the niche of this team right now, playing complementary football on all three levels and sustaining that. That's what good teams do. Sustain that for 4 quarters. Maybe you have a couple plays here and there, but the consistency of that on all three levels is what separates good programs from okay and low tier programs.
And Dayon's being, he said it beautifully. I'm going to take one more this little dig. The Cougs not a good football team. they're 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 bottom tier. I'm just going to say it. They're a bad football team right now. They're finding ways to lose. Everything you said about complimentary, offense good one game, defense good another. All those that's accurate as well. But that just in a nutshell, the Cougs find ways to lose, and that makes them a bad football team. This is not Sam Houston today.
I want to bring
Aqib,
up
go
this
ahead.
comp. Oh,
Yeah.
go ahead, Aqib.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just gonna reiterate what everyone said, but then just to add to it, like when we're looking at the offense, honestly, you have the pieces. I'll disagree a little bit with you, Kris. Not too much. Like you have the pieces offensively. Like you got Sam Brown, you got Matthew Golden, who was non-existent today. But yeah, you have guys like that can get you 80, 90, 100 yards. Like Sam Brown, I think he has like what 500 yards on the season now, like something like that, which is really good.
Leading in the Big 12.
Leading the Big 12. I think the only thing is like today was his first touchdown, I believe. But I mean the touchdowns were mostly going to Matthew Golden prior to today's game. But you got the pieces, and you saw like what if we play like football, how we can play in the first half. That the offense, passing, throwing opens up the game, and I felt like I don't know. Second half, we were seeing a lot of on 1st and 10, just run the ball, like same old,
Yeah, second half, I was wondering where the adjustments to their defensive adjustments.
Yeah,
because you could tell our defense made adjustments in the second half, was able to get the stops and get the ball back into the offense, but they was able to move the ball. Certain calls, 4th and 1, he still can't get that figured out. And during that drive, we had ran 2 quarterback powers and was able to get positive yards. But on 4th and 1, you go with make it 10 on 11 instead of running the quarterback, using the running back as a blocker, making 11 on 11. And you have your big quarterback who's been falling forward all game, going for a yard.
yeah.
But I mean, I agree with you, Aqib. We definitely have the talent offensively, and I think we have talent defensively because it's just about putting it together in spurts consistently with offense and defense, and picking each other up during a game. And so I think Donovan Smith, for me, he just looked how he looked all year, which is consistent, calm in the pocket, making the throws and running when the opportunity presents itself. I think that wide receivers made more plays because previous games he was dealing with drops. So it wasn't like he was never really playing bad. It was just today he was really on point, accurate, time, great decision makers quickly, and really on top of his game. I think it was one of his best games that I've seen him play so far this year, probably in his career.
One thing that Houston did really well.
One of his best halves. He was 5 for 16 in the second half.
But I was going to say,
I think
top to bottom, 11. My bad. I was going to say 11 different receivers that caught passes in today's game for Houston. So that's what's really good. And then to add on to Aqib's point about Matthew Golden, he only had 2 catches for 17 yards. So again, that just goes to show the type of game he had.
I think there's talent on this team. It's being poorly coached, offensively and defensively. There were some adjustments made by the defense, but the running backs just broke loose. Missed tackles. Got to get back to that fundamentals. Just missed tackles second half were just way too many. But the offensive play calling in the second half was way more conservative. And that 4th and 1 shotgun, almost every other team in football does a QB sneak with the butt push. Just push them in the butt and fall forward, get that 1 yard. Dana just seems to just be stuck on this. I'm going to go in shotgun on 4th and 1 because I know what's best.
And remember last time after the during his post-game press conference, he actually called out the running back. Yep. He said we had it blocked up and it was one-on-one. It was the running back's fault. So then he didn't hold himself accountable, be like, maybe I could have called a better play, a different play to get the team in a better position. He literally blamed the running back on this position again. I guess what he's going to say. I can understand having your veteran running back, power running back in the game, but that play call, I don't understand it. But also, we can't not mention those 2 special team touchdowns. Even without those 14 points, the defense still was playing well enough to have us sustain a lead, although they gave up consecutive drives. But that 14 points given up on the special teams was really, really critical, especially in that first half. I think you take away those 14 points, you're looking at a different ball game. And that's why I said on all 3 levels, defense could have played better 100% for sure. But a lot of that, I don't think it's scheme. It's just about the players making plays because they're in the right position. Sometimes they just get beat. And so, it's it's just complementary football. Really, the simplest way to put it in regards to putting that together on a consistent basis, offensively and defensively.
Dan OB on YouTube does not agree with you. Their comment. Bye defensive coordinator. Your defense is giving up an average of 30 points in 5 games. That's not going to cut it. And I mean, those two special team score accelerated the scoring, but I'm not so sure even if they successfully get off that punt or if they tackle and don't allow the kickoff return touchdown that the defense is able to stop them. They had no answer for Texas Tech's running backs all day long, especially when it came to Taj Brooks. And he was just running over defensive linemen, running over defensive backs when he got into the secondary. It was really, really hard to bring him down. It just seemed like they couldn't get him. They couldn't get a TFL on him. Even when they met him in the backfield, it always seemed like he was able to evade it and at least get 1 yard, 2 yards. And that just went to show just overall the strong performance that he had. And don't even get me started on the other running back in Valdez, who had
Valdez,
106 rushing yards. Both of those running backs had 106 rushing yards. Valdez did it on 5 carries, and those were gashes. Those were daggers. And Houston's defense just had no answer for them.
Even within those stats, if you watch the game, which I know we all did, the offense had chances to either tie the game and go to a lead. That's what I'm saying. Like, you can look at the stats and be like, oh, yes, they gave this. But then within the game, the defense was able to get critical stops for them to stop them. And so they was capable of doing it. But the offense, for whatever reason, didn't adjust and make a play. But then when the times they didn't stop it, the offense in the first half was able to score a touchdown. So it was back and forth. And so within the game, it's easy to look after the game and be like, oh, they had such and such stats. And when you're watching the game, they definitely dominated on the ground 100%. And that was expected because I think Taj Brooks is an NFL running back. I really think he is.
Texas history.
It comes back to Dana. The second half play calling was conservative. The defense made some stops in the third quarter. We saw punts in the third quarter. Didn't see any in the first half by either team. But the play calling in the second half, and Texas Tech's defensive front, their front four got pressure on the quarterback, on Donovan, in the second half. And Donovan, they did not make adjustments in play calling to beat the 4 up front and then the 7 back. It was just like a completely different viewpoint of calling plays from one half to the next. I think a better coach would have helped the Cougs win today.
Yeah, and I saw a tweet that said that he told Jeremy Branham that the defense was sneaky in special teams. I wonder what did he say about the offense in the second half? That's like what is he gonna say? Yeah, I agree with you, Kris. I think there's numerous ways that with a different coach who can. I don't know if. Well, I don't want to say that because I don't know about that. But I agree with you, Kris, about the coach. Yeah, I agree.
Do you guys think,
Andy?
Yeah, Andy, what was your question?
No, I was gonna. If we're talking about Dana, go ahead and talk about Dana. I was gonna switch it around and go back to defense.
On the topic of Dana, I think at this point, majority of fans, majority of experts will tell you it's a 2-3 season. I mean, there's still a lot of seasons left to be played, but we might end up going 2 and how many games left? 6, 7.
7 games left, right? Yep.
Yeah, so we might. I'm dead serious because I think Baylor
came back and won.
Yeah, they came back and won. I was thinking early on when Baylor was down by 3-4, scores. I was thinking, okay, that's a team maybe UH can beat. Now that's a team that I don't think we can beat, and that was going to be probably the only team that I think we would have a decent chance of winning. We might go winless the rest of the season.
I disagree with that. I don't think we're that bad because watching the games, if you go back to TCU, we can compete and we can win those games. It's just about doing what it takes throughout four quarters and win those games. It's not like we don't belong on the field with them.
If we're losing to Texas Tech is going to be one of the bottom teams.
We lost to Texas Tech this year, who shouldn't beat Oregon at home. This is at home, first on the road game in the Big 12. We got to put everything into.
They were 1-3 coming into this game. We lost to them
Wyoming.
By three scores. They lost to Wyoming
and the backup
without the starting quarterback.
Right, backup quarterback as well.
I mean, we can try to be positive, Dayon, but we got to also be realistic too.
Going by what I see, I'm definitely not trying to be positive. I'm just saying from what I've seen throughout each game, they can compete, and 2 or 3 plays
they're competing every
ways,
half. They're competing up until the first half.
They're competing in a half. Let's put it like that. They compete for a half.
There's 2 halves in a game.
Put it together.
Yeah,
I agree. Got to put it all together.
And see, I'm pretty sure. I'm sorry, Andy. I'm pretty sure Dana's going to say post game, we don't have the depth. We wore down in the second half, on and on, and we'll go back to it. And who's the head coach? Who assembled the team? Who calls the plays? That is you, sir, Mr. Dana Holgorsen. You are the one in charge of this team. You're the one who's putting the product out there on the field that's not playing for 4 quarters. That's on you. Baylor, I'll say this, and we're not going to know. Baylor scored 29 unanswered points. Probably saved Dave Aranda's job. That could indicate those players have not given up on Dave Aranda. I'm not so sure we get to a point, especially West Virginia. Cougs are off next week. Next game is on October 12th. That's a Thursday game. I'm not sure, because players get fed up hearing the coach blame everybody but himself for issues and losses. Dana, after a win, everything's great. We did a lot of great things. After a loss, it wasn't my fault. I called the right plays. Well, we're not deep enough. Some players be like, what is coach doing? Is he our coach or not? So what if at some point the guys are like, man, this man's not in for us, so watch being in for him.
Real quickly, I could put a pin on it. This is Let's Rage Coogs, the original Houston post-game show of football and men's basketball games. Obviously, this is off the heels of Houston's 49-28 loss to Texas Tech, and you are watching and or listening, depending on however you're digesting or getting Let's Rage Coogs, presented by the Lazarine Law Firm. Dan Lazarine founded the Lazarine Law Firm to provide legal representation to individuals who have been injured or arrested in the greater Houston area. Dan Lazarine understands that sometimes bad things happen to good people. Worse, false allegations are made every day. With offices in Houston and Sugar Land, Dan is equipped to handle your legal needs in Harris County and in surrounding counties, including Fort Bend County here in Texas. If you have been injured or find yourself in other legal trouble, call the Lazarine Law Firm at 281-720-8551 or visit Dan online at www.lazarinelawfirm.com for a consultation. Of course, we also like to say thank you to our secondary sponsor for today's episode, and that is Star Pizza, with multiple locations across the Houston area. Star Pizza is your go-to stop before or after the game, and based on how Houston and Texas Tech win, pizza sounds good right about now to try to put that loss in the rearview mirror. But let's get back to it. I wanted to put it up earlier. 2 Big 12 games, 0 points in the second half. I think what's become evident in these 2 games, there is a gap. Whether we want to say it's a talent gap, a coaching gap, there is a gap so far between Tech, TCU, and Houston.
Well, y'all know I believe it's a coaching gap. y'all know that. So y'all take the rest.
Aqib, you take it.
Now I'm agree with Kris here. Like I never want to call for anyone's job and say like, oh, this guy, doesn't deserve to have a job with this football team. But I don't know how much longer like I could take. Even though he's gonna get paid out if he were to get Holgorsen were to get fired, he'd get paid out. But like, but like, does that even matter at this point? Like, it's like you're gonna probably lose majority of the games anyway, especially if Holgorsen doesn't have control of like his locker room, if he keeps making negative comments towards his own players and not taking the blame, like how short is that leash going to be?
Well, but the question for the administration, because I don't believe he's going to be fired this season. I believe he should be, but I think he'll be back next season. The fans don't believe in him. Dana Holgorsen does not inspire hope and confidence in the fan base. So the Big 12, shiny new car being first year in the Big 12, is wearing off because of performances like this. It's going to get worse next season. Dayon, what team's coming into the conference next year?
Colorado will be at the top of the list.
With a huge
Utah
brand and a head coach in Coach Prime. Those fans love that man. The love will probably continue next year because it'll be their first year in the Big 12. But Deion gives them hope. Dana doesn't give Coug fans hope. And at some point, I'm not sure how long it's going to take. It is an opportunity cost. It's going to be a loss. The longer you keep Holgorsen here, the less fans are going to spend money to attend the games. And I know, I've said it for a long time, that fans, alums need to support the team, go to the game, support the players. But at some point, you got to show the administration how you feel with your dollars too. And this man is not the right man to lead this team to championships. So get rid of him.
Yeah, I think definitely the fan base doesn't believe. There's no sense of hype. I don't know if he relates with the young generation, with the culture, and being able to really use the Houston culture to his advantage, to being at the University of Houston, like some of the previous coaches at Houston, to be able to get some of those 5-star recruits and just have hype around the team, the players, the program. I don't think he's that guy. I think throughout certain games this season, really all of them, lack of adjustments, questionable play calling. You can go with different things that have transpired, but ultimately it falls on his hat because he's the head guy. And not too many times does he hold himself accountable. And so when you're leading a group of men, how can they follow a man and who isn't holding himself accountable in the public? Like maybe he's doing it behind doors. I don't know. But I think they'll still be able to compete. Just being a former athlete, competing all my life. Once you get out on the field, it's about putting good tape out. You're not worried about the coach or nothing. You about representing the name on the back of your jersey. And so, but I think it's definitely with the coach. I think it's time. Like you, I never really want to say that and call for a man's job, but I got to call it how it is. And looking at the program, in my opinion, I think it's time. Writing's on the wall. If you want to be successful, because I think Houston cannot be a bottom tier program.
Agreed.
Being in the Big 12, I see so much promise within this program.
With the right person in charge.
Don't have the right guy.
Yep.
Exactly.
And Andy and Aqib, Dan, I know how you feel about it. I'm going to go with this one first. This one first. This is what really baffles me. Is because the administration can see what works in coaching and a program on campus. You have someone who has developed and established a winning culture, a winning foundation in Kelvin Sampson, who has instilled a culture and hope in the fan base. Contrast that to what football has, and yet they continue to just pay him, make excuses for him, listen to his excuses, on and on and on after losses in basketball. Coach Sampson typically says a few things. Hey, we weren't going to go undefeated. We're going to get better month to month. I'm going to make sure these guys get better month to month. It's on me for us to get better. That's consistent. Dana up and down after wins and losses. Are you in charge or not, man? And it goes to Chris Pesman and Tillman Fertitta.
Yeah.
This is not personal. This is not personal. I have nothing against Dana Holgorsen. This is business. If he is not the right person for the job, and I believe he's proving that week after week, at some point you got to move on. So there we go. I'm done off my soapbox now.
Just to add on to your point, that Dayon, I agree 100%. There is a blueprint that the football team can not only have success, but have fans, have alumni really rally around it, because it happened in 2014, it happened in 2015 with Tom Herman, and they had a great marketing slogan with the hashtag H-Town Takeover, and that was when the program was at its peak, certainly in the modern era, and it has come nowhere near close to that in the past 4 and now a quarter and some change years under Dana Holgers. Even the year when they went 12-2, there wasn't no rallying around the program even then.
Yeah, and this, what's your thoughts on this? Dana comes off entitled as if his pedigree should be enough. The fans should be thankful for him. He is collecting a check from his best friend Fertitta.
I don't know if it's the truth to that, but I like this. It sounds a lot true. It sounds a lot of truth to it, man. Because just looking at the way that he operates and says certain things, because at one hand it was like we had 2 years to prep for going into the Big 12, and so having that, he was saying that as an advantage to him going into the Big 12 versus when he was at West Virginia. So with knowing that you have 2 years to build that depth to be able to recruit to these Big 12 type players and the athletes that you need. So now when you're here in the Big 12, in which you have the experience of being in the Big 12, you know what it takes. We had years to prep to get here. Now we're here and we looking like we still don't deserve to be here. Yep. And so, I mean, like, that's ridiculous.
Yeah, and to add to y'all's point too, I mean, who's in charge of Dana Holgerson keeps mentioning depth every week. We don't have enough depth. It's like, but who's in charge of bringing in that depth? Who's in charge of bringing that talent? As far as I know, it's the coach.
Yeah,
he's the one who's number one in recruiting. He's supposed to be that guy. So if he's not bringing in, like you see, Coach Sampson, he's bringing in those guys every year, whether it's in the transfer market or whether it's guys coming out of high school. So if Dana Holgerson's not doing that, then why does he have to be there? Like, especially if the coaching isn't working out, if you're not coaching this team right, and then if you're not bringing in that depth, then there's no reason for Holgerson to be coaching this team.
And I want to go add to that, because I do believe there is some talent on this squad. He's not coaching them up, which is also a part of coaching. The head coach, one of the main jobs of a head coach is to maximize what his players do well and minimize their weaknesses. Dana, as pointed out by the audience, second half, 2 straight Big 12 opponents, nothing. No points. Oh, it was depth. Oh, it was a depth problem. Coach, you're the coach.
Coaching adjustments.
Adjustments. He's the coach.
Adjustments is really what it is.
Adjustments. Good coaches, good staffs make adjustments at halftime. Okay, men, this is what worked in the first half. This is what didn't. This is what we expect them to do in the second half. When they do this, we're going to do this.
And you look at the story of this season, second halves, the defense has played well. You look at each game. Think about it. Rice, TCU,
yep,
Texas Tech. When it comes down to adjustment, we keep questioning the defensive coaching. Some people are. Second halves, you think about it, each game, there's been adjustments made, and the defense has played, giving the offense the ball back with a chance to do something, or giving turnovers that are giving off the chance to extra time to do something. And so, yeah, I think it's the head man that's leading it.
I was going to bring up a similar stat to that Renee just put up, but Power 5 programs, period. Under Dana Holgerson, Houston is now 1-7 Power 5. If they were Power 5 programs the time when they played, so not counting Cincinnati, not counting UCF, 1-7. Of course, that win was against Auburn in the Birmingham Bowl going back to 2021.
Birmingham Bowl, you're not sure. It's a win, but you're not sure how much Auburn cared about playing in the Birmingham Bowl. But whatever. That moved them to 6-6. But
only
it's a win.
One win.
And that's the one. That's what Dana is hanging his hat. Dana and his defenders hang their hat on.
He has defenders, Kris.
He's got the right ones, Aqib.
Okay,
Unfortunately,
well, yeah.
he's got the right ones.
I don't think he's coming from the fan base though. But
none of the ones who watch Let's Rage Coogs. That's a serious question. Is there a fan, a viewer of this show, a listener who defends Dana? Seriously, I'm curious. Is there anybody who watches this show, listens to this show that defends Dana?
Write in the comments. Write it in the comments.
I will say the offense, how they look today, that's what I expect from him. The play calling in that first half.
In the first half.
First half. But the second half, where were the adjustments, like we said earlier in the show? But that first half, and Donovan Smith, I think he looked like he looked all year. He just playmakers.
He looked good. Yeah, I mean, first half he looked amazing. Like he looked like he could have had eight TDs today or something, 10 touchdowns or whatever, some like Patrick Mahomes type game. And then he looked like he was like coming for revenge against that Tech team. And I felt it up until like when I think it was when we missed that field goal.
It's when they punt. When they had to punt.
When we had to punt too, but then when we missed that field goal at the end of the first half, I thought, man, I think that just killed a lot of like momentum that we had, if we had any. And then also I'm gonna put a little, like maybe 5% blame on Donovan Smith. He was missing some key throws like in the second half at the beginning. Like he wasn't as sharp.
He almost overthrew Sam Brown. Exactly. Could have been a pick six.
I think it might have been twice where he overthrew receivers in that second half, where it's like it's a touchdown or you're in the red zone. So
and that's the difference between being next level and just being good and steady.
Yeah, he's good. Like I think we can all agree, like talent, it's there. He got a big arm.
Got to be consistent half to half. Yep.
He can run the football. He has all the not the intangibles, but he has all the qualities,
skill sets.
Yeah. The skill set. Like I wouldn't be surprised if he could still be picked up on a roster, like
develop over time.
Yeah, like
if
you see those type of
with a good offensive mind.
Yeah,
develop his
yeah. So like he could easily take up third string, in the NFL, like just with the talent that he has, and we've seen that in the NFL. Like when you give a quarterback, the right coach, right offensive line, like you can do anything with that. But yeah, he missed on a couple of throws today that I thought like could have been the difference in that second half as well. And then of course, I mean,
the penalties killed him in the second half. The false starts, the holding calls,
and I mentioned, and then like I'll make this one last point. I mentioned this in our group. I think it was like a 2nd and 20, and it was like 8 minutes left in the fourth quarter. We're down 3 scores, and what's the play call? Run the ball down the middle. Like I don't understand that at all. I mean, I know you're supposed to you got to switch it up here and there with the plays, but you can't be running
waving the white flag.
That's exactly. The white flag. That's like okay, let's hope he breaks through for like a
I
20,
think
30 yard run.
Strategically, some of that is they got 3 down linemen and the rest in the secondary. So you're hoping that you can pop a run because you have the numbers.
But not with the way our offensive line is.
You thinking like maybe let me get 8 to 10 yards if I can pop one real quick. Then they set me up for a manageable third down, like catching it by a field of surprise. And so like I can understand that because one of my brothers texted me during the game like, man, what the heck is that play call? And I'm like, I'm not.
Well, that's what I
play call. I'm just kind of under.
No, and I mean that's why I mentioned like. Yeah. Sometimes you'll run that on a 2nd and 20 because there's not pressure up front, but it's at that point in the game, like, and also Donovan Smith throughout the first half, he was making deep throws, accurate throws too. So it's like, why not just, you can get checkdowns too for, 7-8 yards as well. So
they couldn't guard our receivers. Like what changed?
Manjack and Brown were open often.
The offensive line
10 that's why 10, 11 different guys caught passes today. So
but the right guard, Tyler Johnson, the holding penalties, The tackle basically he had on one of them. That was declined, but it was still a holding on him. He struggled. And if you can't block 5 against 3, when they're dropping an 8 back, it's 5 against 4, if it's 7 back, your O-line's not very good. Parker Jenkins, third quarter, what happened to him? We need to find out. Did he get tired? Did he get a little banged up injury? The announcers, surmise that Houston's not ready to give Parker Jenkins, the full load for a whole game. Okay, that's fair, but third quarter he was gone. People asking, where's Parker Jenkins? So that another part of play calling, but for everybody. Chris Pesman said a few times. He said it this summer. I think he said it early in August, right before the season started. A successful season for him, in his opinion, was reaching a bowl game. That's 6-6, basically. Mediocre. Mm-hmm. First year in the Big 12, 6-6. Did any of y'all, fans included, watching us on YouTube and X, any of y'all still believe this team can get to 6 wins with Dana as a head coach?
No way. From what I've seen, I think it's going to be more likely that they go winless in the Big 12 conference schedule than they get to 6 wins. And that's West Virginia. That was kind of like the game heading into the season where that was kind of, if you're going to pick a first Big 12 win between Tech and between West Virginia, and West Virginia much more so, they've proven that they're much more better certainly than expected coming in. And you see all the comments. Renee, hell no. T.I., seriously, hell no. DPG, 3 wins max. Dizzy, busy, nope. RUFLYM, it's a maybe, probably not now. Yeah, I don't see no chance. I mean, they would need 4 wins. Like, who are they beating? Potentially
Cincinnati.
I wouldn't.
Cincinnati.
I definitely wouldn't say I believe, but at the same time, I wouldn't be surprised if they beat some of these same teams you mentioning, because they're at the same level of some of these teams. You look at some of these, it's going to be a competitive game unless Houston gives the game away. When I'm watching these, it's not that separate in regards to the level of where they are in regards to win. They can win some of these games if a couple plays go here and there, and that's why I don't believe. I want to be clear on that. But at the same time, the way some of these games are going, a couple plays go their way, I can see them winning some games that right now when we're talking, you can say the school name, you're like, oh, they might not win that game. And so I think it's possible.
You're going with and it's fair, you're going with on any given
not necessarily.
Saturday,
I'm just going by
my
eye test because they're good enough. They should have beat TCU, in my opinion. Watching that game, they should have won that game. Watching this game, I can't say they should have won this game, but I think they should have beat TCU watching that game. So that's a Big 12 team. I just think they gave that game away at home. That's what I'm saying. Another team at home, who they play? West Virginia. They can beat West Virginia. They can beat Cincinnati. They can win these games. I'm watching it. And so that's why I don't believe. I want to be clear.
I think they show flashes. Yeah. But they can, I had no confidence that they could string it together, because in order for them to have actually been in a conversation against TCU, it would have been if the offense looked like how it did in the first half today. Same thing. In order for them to have been able to beat Tech, their offense needed to be consistent. And if they're not consistent.
In that TCU game, all the offense had to do was score a touchdown off of turnovers. We got 2 turnovers and we didn't score a touchdown. We didn't get no points. The likelihood of that happening in another game isn't that likely. Let's just say it does happen, they score touchdowns, and it's a different ball game. That's why I'm saying, watching these games and remembering it, it's not like they just get blown out the water, like they just trash, just sorry. So they have no chance. Nah, they got chances against these teams like the Baylors and the West Virginians, and I don't know about Texas, but not I don't know about Texas. But like I'm saying, some of these other teams, I'm gonna keep it 100. They can win these teams. They not that far off from some of these teams. Just watching the game and how the game's going, it's just about maybe Dana or somebody. You know what I'm saying? Maybe something happened and they can do it.
See,
but I don't believe that. I want to be clear on that.
Yeah, fair. This is the concern that I have really for the program. This team is in next West Virginia. Dana ruined West Virginia. He did. And now he's doing the same thing to Houston.
Why do you say
Honestly,
he's West
you
Virginia,
ask
Chris?
West Virginia fans, were they happy to see Dana go? Nope. Nope. Very, very, very. It's almost like here. It's
Were
like,
they sad to see him go?
nope, not at all. Not at all. A lot of them, talk to them. Good luck to y'all. We wish y'all the best of luck because he left us in a trash heap.
And now 5 years later, they're saying, "We told you so."
Yeah.
And they literally are saying, "We told you so."
But we're getting into dangerous territory where like you can ruin the program for the next 3, 4, or 5 years.
If they keep him too long.
If
Yes.
they keep him too long. Recruits, I mean, they're gonna look at this team and they'll be like, I don't want to. I'm getting 30 offers elsewhere. Like, why would I want to come here? I know it's the Big 12, but there's also how many other teams next year? There's gonna be 16 teams in the Big 12. Like, I can go to 15. We can go to 15 other teams. Yeah.
I want to go to Colorado. I want to go to Utah. Arizona State.
Add on to your point real quick.
Trying to play for Coach Prime.
To add on to your point real quick, I could think back to the TCU game when they had, how many recruits was it, Chris? They had, was it north of 200?
He said north of 200, yes.
At the game, and what did all those 200 plus recruits witness? They saw TCU dominate Houston in the second half, and they saw the fans, the Houston fans, boo the coaching staff. You could say the team. They were intended for the coaching staff. Do you think that didn't leave a mark on those recruits?
It's some. The ones who had questions.
Yeah, it could go either way. It can reach.
But some of them be like, "Hey, I'm gonna get playing time here."
Right, exactly. That's exactly what I was gonna say. They can be like, well, I can come here and make an impact. I'm from the city. Like, yeah, it can reach in different ways.
And I don't know this because football recruiting is not my area. But typically, when a lot of players visit, you hear a handful of them announce a commitment to the program after that game or soon enough. Have y'all heard any of that? Dana said that the young men were impressed in the locker room. They were impressed and hyped up at everything and the bells and whistles, all those things. Okay. Well, because Dana is saying to the fans who follow the stars in recruiting, be patient. We're going to be fine in recruiting. We're getting phone calls and from people that we would not have gotten calls from because we're now in the Big 12. So it's telling the fans or asking the fans to be patient. Well, once that recruiting period, the signing day starts, we'll see if the patience pays off.
I want to know how deep are his roots or his connections to like recruiting in Texas, because, and I'm not no expert either on recruiting, Chris. So I wouldn't be able to answer that question. But if he doesn't have ties, at least with Tom Herman, although he was coming from Ohio State, and although like a lot of fans might not like him, he did a fantastic job like recruiting to this program. So you had something to say, Dan? Or?
Yeah, I was just going to piggyback off your point. I think the difference, well, number one, I think Dana does have ties in the recruitment in the state of Texas to high school coaches because of the familiarity that he has with being in Texas and Texas program. So I think recruiting, even in this issue to this team right now, I don't think recruiting is an issue. You look at his recruiting class over the last 2 years, he's done a better job of recruiting. I think he can, but I think the difference between him and Tom Herman is Tom Herman was able to, in his way, relate and play to the culture of Houston, getting the grill, creating the hashtag H-Town Takeover, being able to relate to black players in Houston to get them to come to Houston and believe like you can rep for the city and be for the city. And so I think Dana has done an okay job in recruiting, but I think that's the difference between being relatable and being able to play to the culture of Houston and being relatable in that way. And I think Dana isn't that guy. But I think the way that, in my opinion, the program is set up right now with the talent that they have and some of the young recruits they've able to get under Dana Holgorsen, if they do make a change next year, it could go either one or two ways. Either this young talent, this coaching staff was able to retain it, because I think they have a lot of it, and they were able to believe in it, and they can still develop it, or they can transfer out. Then it's a rebuilding stage unless we get a
You
coach
start
with
back
a
from square
high,
one.
high, high um, caliber coach is able to do it in 1 or 2 years, like a Lincoln Riley, like a Coach Prime. Other than that, I think it could go 1 or 2 ways in regards to if they are able to make a coaching change. But the recruiting has been good, in my opinion. It can definitely be better.
But one of the issues with bringing Dana back for this season rather than letting him go last season is you could have given a new coach the first year in the Big 12. Fans would have expected the beat downs, the start of because of a rebuild. A lot of fans, I'm not sure what y'all thought, but I expected this to be a long, long season because Dana and his coaching. But a lot of fans are disappointed because maybe they had higher expectations. I'm saying if you'd removed all that with a new coach first year in the Big 12, fans wouldn't be like, hey, I know 2 years from now, or could do what Coach Prime does as a first year head coach, hit that transfer portal, clean house completely, bring in new talent, bring in this kind of players, giving some hope. Because go back to it, the fan base here just has no hope in Dana Holgorsen turning things around for this team to be competitive in the Big 12.
No, I agree 100%, specifically when it comes to at this point. Again, we're into quarter five plus, quarter five of year five, or quarter one of year five for Dana Holgorsen. And let's go back to the years 2019. Not a good season. They had the red shirt, plan, and then it ended up falling apart. 2020, COVID year, they finished under 500. 2021, they went on an 11-game winning streak. But Kris, we've touched on it multiple times during the show, but the teams that they beat weren't necessarily a murderer's row when it came to that 11-game winning streak, and they ended up, when they ran into Cincinnati in the American Athletic Conference Championship game, similar to what we've seen in these two Big 12 games. Competitive in one half, competitive in the first half, second half unable to consistently perform against those high caliber opponents. And then last year was really the big disappointing season. I think last year it was kind of a turning point, because if Houston had been able to build off the momentum, the positive momentum that they had in 2021, to prove that it wasn't necessarily a fluke, or it wasn't a kind of catching lightning in the bottle with that 11-game winning streak, there'd be a much different mindset heading into this season, because then you're kind of building that trust in that, hey, it's a jump, different conference, but he showed in the American Athletic Conference he was able to build it. That wasn't the case, and that's why here we are. We're kind of stuck in neutral with the program, and Kris, like you said, there's no confidence. There's no confidence right now in this program, and head coach Dana Holgorsen being able to build up the program to a contender that's at the top of the Big 12.
Aqib and Dayon, for you, after the 11-win season, what did Dana do? He lowered the expectations for last season. Everybody else was, hey, Coogs are going. They could be. What is it? Tim Brando was top 10, his top 10 team. Dana's like, oh no, we're not gonna be that good. No. Yeah. I don't know who's saying we're gonna be that good this year. Really? Oh no, we're not gonna be that good. No.
Well, some people had him penciled in to be the G5 representative in the
Dana
NY
said, oh no, we're not. We're not.
Here's the thing: they didn't say that at the beginning. Once they started losing, it was, we didn't put those expectations. Those were put on by people outside of the program.
Yeah, y'all did that outside the program. We didn't do that.
Which again, that again,
I remember that was a big thing last season when there was like I can't remember the exact.
Aqib, weren't you the one that asked him about expectations?
Yeah, I think it was me. So I'm actually, I didn't even remember that I had asked that, but Andy, you just brought it up. But yeah, so the comments that he made with as far as expectations last season, I think that kind of set the tone for the games to come last season and this season. So that was kind of a downer hearing that from him, because I was
and it's been the same thing this year too.
Yeah,
when it comes to the Big 12, it's gonna be a jump. There's a big jump from G5 to P5 level, and the depth's just not there. Is what he said after they lost to TCU.
But the irony is, Coach Kelvin Sampson has made similar comments. He said a few times, I've seen a Final Four team. We're not a Final Four team yet. We're a good team. He's made similar comments, but you know what he does? The team gets better almost game to game.
But he also, but Kris, Coach Sampson has never ever said anything with our depth.
Oh,
he would say, like, we'll have banged up. Obviously, we'll have guys injured, and he'll say next man up mentality. But I've never once heard Coach Sampson mention
the team that was devastated with injuries. And what did they do? They found a way to win. Advancing into tournament.
And that comes back to culture and
coaching.
And if your players on this Holgerson team, like, what are you saying? What are you thinking in your head when your coach keeps week after week mentioning depth? That means he's saying that you're sorry, basically. And
you're not good enough.
Yeah, you're
not good enough to make up my mistakes. My lack of adjustments from half to half. That's what he's saying. Dayon, you're not in agreement. What do you think?
I'm in agreement. No, I agree. 100%.
But let's digress a little bit. We focused a lot on the coaching staff, but let's focus on this season in particular. They've reached their bye week. They're going to face West Virginia October 12th, Thursday night game. The biggest, where they need to improve from here is consistency. How do they become consistent? That's the big question that they have to find. The coaching staff has to find the answer between now and October 12th. And I'm not sure how that happens. Curious to get your thoughts.
Tackling first and cutting back on the penalties. Just the penalties. I think
at key moments, at key stretches.
That's where I was going. I think in the first half, they had one or none. But second half, they came at bad times. Which goes back to our main point as a group. They're not consistent half to half. Offense, defense, penalties, tackling. That's what they got to pick up. They got to be consistent with the overall game. It's a 4-quarter game. They got to play well, quarter to quarter. And right now, they're not doing it. They got some time to get their minds right and get ready for that game on October 12th on that Thursday night. And it's going to be the Cougs blackout game, everybody. So wear black if you're going to go.
Just emphasis on inf.
Yeah.
Kris. It'll be a 6 p.m. start.
Yeah, 6 p.m. start on a Thursday.
That's
game's going to be on
brutal.
ESPN. No. What is it? I think Conrad put it out. Let's see. Just send it.
FS1.
That's even worse. Well, that might get some fans to come to the game. Because fans may not have FS1. Some.
Well, today's game was on FS2. So.
Yep. But how many fans will be there?
30,000. That would be the announced.
I was going to say, that'll be the announced attendance. How many will actually be there?
For the first quarter, I think it'll be pretty empty. And I'm not sure how much more it'll fill out. And when it comes to the actual on-the-field product, that's the consistency is the biggest. Today, special teams just killed it. It shot themselves in the foot, which is Texas history teacher says 30 fans, and that's it. Which has been a surprise. The one consistent bright spot for the course of the first 4 games for Houston had been special teams.
Yep.
And I think the one that's really gotten the shortest end of the stick is the kicker, Jack Martin, because he's missed 4 field goals or 4 or 5 field goals. All those field goals that he's missed has been 50-plus yarders that they've asked him to convert, which it's a tough position to put your kicker in consistently. But kickoff return, there was a lot of, Kris, like you mentioned, a lot of just arm tackles, both on defense and on special teams, where
there's a quote right there. I'm pretty sure that's either from Baldwin or Duarte or whoever's.
That's from Joseph Duarte.
Yeah,
Duarte, the Chronicle. Good in the first half, not good enough in the second half. Second time we got worn out in the second half. That's Big 12 football. We've got 7 more games.
You said it, Dana. You're the coach. It's almost like he coaches to make it come true. Well, we're going to wear down in the second half, so I'm going to coach less aggressive like I did in the first half to prove myself right. That's what he's doing. Yeah. Well, we're going to do some strange things. I'm going to do some strange play calling. I'm not going to be as aggressive in the second half because I know my guys are going to be tired. And okay, then, all right. You do you.
I don't see how you get wore out because you didn't play much offense. Much defense in the first half. So, and then your special teams didn't play.
Something that was a big issue in that first half from the defense perspective, the defensive line, it didn't seem like they were able to get a lot of pressure on the quarterback. And in the second half, when they were able to get some stops, they were able to get a couple of good hits on the quarterback. But the biggest thing, again, goes to missed tackles, which we've touched on this all of last season. It's been a consistent issue dating back to the beginning of last season. Missed tackles, penalties, and today it's very, very terrible execution on special teams as well. Inability to have a consistent run game. If it wasn't Parker Jenkins, it was a struggle for the other backs in the backfield to consistently run.
Here's
a lot of holes to fill.
I'm going through Duarte's timeline and a comment from a fan. Let's see. A couple. That's Big 12 football about the comment we just posted. That's Big 12 football. But schools like Wyoming don't have an issue with it. Well, one was on the Big 12. I know what they're trying to say. His responses are never good. Always is an excuse to losing. But here's the key one. Sounds like he knew what to expect and still had no plan.
Yeah.
There you go. there you go. So, but the ultimate issue is the folks in charge. When are they going to have enough? When is Kris Pesman going to have enough? When is Tillman going to have enough? That is a problem.
We need a head coach that's going to come in and demand certain things that's obviously wrong with the program, like Coach Sampson, from all the way to marketing, all the way down to all those areas.
Game day ops,
marketing, all of it. We need someone that has a vision and know how to execute it and realize the gem that Houston is within the city and be able to get it to those heights that it's reached before.
And be able to capitalize on the talent in this city,
yes,
the resources in this city. And I'm going to put it out there in these last minutes of Let's Rage Coogs. Kris Pesman, someone at UH Athletics, dropped the ball big time. Now that we see the Rice Owls selling officially licensed Love Your Owls, Love Your Blue Rice Owls merch. Officially licensed stuff. Yes, I know UH fans can get the not official, the bootleg stuff. I know that. But Rice is selling officially licensed Rice Owls Love Your Blue merch.
I'm not even mad that they copycatted when it comes to like the Love Your Blue.
They copycatted, but they did it better.
They did it better.
Executed better.
That's why I'm not.
They executed better, but their merch is trash. The way it looks is ugly. Well, they did execute a plan though.
Trash merch is better than no merch.
But see, that's what I'm getting to is
that's only if it sells, because you can lose money by investing in it and it don't sell, and then it's a loss.
True, but I think it's
selling. I think it's selling. Yeah.
It may not be long term, but it goes back to UH dropping the ball. Because one report was the Titans didn't allow it. Well, then you work out and talk to the Titans. What can we do to make this work so we can sell this merch? That should have been done in June, July, August. Because I think the quote that Duarte wrote weeks ago, we wanted to get it out there because we knew another program was going to do it. We wanted to be first. Well, you did it first, but then you couldn't even make it available for purchase. And you failed to capitalize on all that hype and interest that fans and non-fans wanted to buy because of how it looked. Where can I buy that? Oh, you can't. What?
Rice got like no national media coverage over that, just because Houston did it first, and then like Kris, you've been harping on it all season. Like we just totally dropped the ball on that one. It's
And
unfortunate.
DPG makes two good points. It's not the best looking deal, and Rice doesn't have a fan base to sell it to because they're going to struggle to draw fans at Rice Stadium. Rice does not care about football. Agreed. But it just goes back to the main point, the overriding point. You let Rice, an academic school, an academic institution, capitalize with merchandise for football. And that's after they beat you in football this year to get the Bayou bucket. But we could not even do the merchandise part right. And yet we're in the Big 12. So come buy our product because we're in the Big 12. That's basically what they're doing, not football. We're in the Big 12, buy our merch. Where can I buy it? Oh, yeah, we don't have links for you to buy it. Huh? I want to buy it. I want to order online. It's not for sale. What? That's a horrible look. When Garrett Classy said in that interview, well, Kris is right now, it's not available for purchase. Man, the responses I got, what? Horrible.
Real quickly, I'm working on getting. You could have footage from Dana Holgerson. It's currently loading, so we could hear that before we completely wrap up. But I do like to give a shout out to our sponsors. Beginning again, this is the Let's Rage Coogs, the original Houston men's basketball and football show. We have a new tagline here at Let's Rage Coogs, presented by the Lazarine law firm. Dan Lazarine founded the Lazarine law firm to provide legal representation to individuals who have been injured or arrested in the greater Houston area. Dan Lazarine understands that bad things sometimes happen to good people. Worse, false allegations are made every day. With offices in Houston and Sugar Land, Dan is equipped to handle your legal needs in Harris County and surrounding counties, including Fort Bend County. If you have been injured or find yourself in other legal trouble, call the Lazarine Law Firm at 281-720-8551 or visit Dan online at www.lazarinelawfirm.com for a consultation. Of course, we also like to say thank you to our secondary sponsor for today's episode, which is Star Pizza, with multiple locations across the Houston area. Star Pizza is your go-to stop before or after the game. Be sure to visit them online as well so you can order ahead and not even have to worry about the line up front following a Houston Cougars game. Still working on that video, but just
no
overall,
worries.
looking ahead.
I want to say this, if I can, Andy, real quick before we go into looking ahead. It's getting to a point, Dana Holgerson is going to hurt the bottom line for the program. He's getting to that point where people aren't going to buy tickets to see them play, to see him coach the team. Let's put it like that, to see him coach the team. The merchandise failure is on Pesman, whoever, and that's going to hurt the bottom line. UH, for its first year in the Big 12, is doing a piss poor job of capitalizing on its first year in the Big 12.
Agreed. 100%. 100%. Hands down, top to bottom.
Aqib, Dayon, what you think?
I mean, we've been hopping on it all season.
Go ahead,
long, so I don't think there's much more to be said about that. Like Kris, you've been going at it with the recruiting and all that stuff, and I mean, I couldn't agree with you more. So I'm not even. There's nothing to add on to that really. Like it's just too many things going wrong, and like you from an internal perspective, like recruiting is not doing well, and then your coaching staff or your coaching is not going great either, and then externally, I mean I think at least we're bringing in money. Actually, I don't know. I remember Kris, you had shared I think earlier this week about how much funding we're receiving and all that. I didn't really understand your point. Maybe you could go over that a little bit.
Yeah, the Bearcats, Cincinnati had their first year in the Big 12 as well. They've raised $100 million in 9 months quicker than they had projected for their facilities, for their upgrades, things like that. Whereas the Cougs Houston Rise campaign with the Hope plan to raise $150 has raised $70 million in more time than the Bearcats raised their $100 million.
Yeah, I mean, but that's also with Cincinnati. I think they've had a good couple of seasons these past few seasons, so that helps for sure.
They got a new coach too. They got a new head coach.
They got a new head coach too. But
they had such a good season. They lost their head coach who went up to a better program.
Yep. And they are capitalizing on the previous success under Coach Fickle, and now they're checking their lumps this year with a new head coach in the first year in the Big 12. Well, the Cougs could have been doing that same thing, taking their lumps with a first-year head coach in the Big 12, yet they decided to bring back a guy who the fan base doesn't have faith in, didn't have faith in him last season, but they brought him back anyway.
Yep, man. I think, like you guys said, we said throughout the show, they dropped the ball from many different areas, from marketing to all those different areas that we mentioned throughout the show. And it's sad to see because, like I just said a second ago, the gem that Houston is, from all the resources within the city to the culture that can be able to relate to the young generation, the young athletes in Houston. And like it's so much, and Houston can be such a prominent school in all sports that if they had the right man in charge with their administration backing and doing the proper things, maybe they need a kick in the butt and need a head coach to kind of demand, like, we need to do this, this, and this, so they're able to get to the next level.
You know who does that? You know who does that? Kelvin Sampson does that.
right across.
But yeah, I don't think it's been just. I'm gonna make one last point. I don't think we've been short of resources. I think of course we could do much better raising funds, but I don't think it's been like completely awful. Like at least they have projects going, things of that nature. I'm not gonna try to give them credit, but it's not as bad as
Dana's doing less with more.
Yeah.
A lot of coaches.
Yeah, exactly. So it's not as bad as how our marketing has done, how our recruiting, how our coaching. I think those are like the biggest of all issues. But I don't think the resources, raising funds, I don't think that has been like horrible. I would say. I think it's been just okay.
It's been on the topic of Dana Holgorsen. Let's hear what he had to say.
Here we go.
Dana, first half, second half, offensively.
Yeah, not good. Good in the first half. Not good in the second half. I just told the team, I was like, this is Big 12 football. This is the second Big 12 football game where we competed, and first half was good, competitive. If we do things better defensively and on special teams in the first half, then we get a lead. Now, can we sustain that lead? Hopefully at some point we'll be able to figure that out. But, it's the second time we've got wore out in the second half. It's Big 12 football. Got 7 more of them, so, I don't know what it is. We will assess it on Monday and, get a week to figure it out.
Special teams have been, but to this point have done well, and then they get the big break off.
Yeah, they've been good for 4 years in 4 games, right? So they got coaches too. They got good coaches. Kenny Berry's a really good special teams coordinator that we've coached against for years, and so it wasn't schematically. It was just. They got after us. Their specialists were incredibly good. They did a better job of kicking and blocking and tackling. you know, and it was as bad as we've had since we've been here.
Did you line up differently on that punt? Did y'all have?
We did not.
Okay.
We did not. I mean, that kid made a good play. You know, the op time was a little slow. The left wing didn't hold his ground. I mean, there's several things that happens. It's the first punt we've had blocked in 5 years. It's not our scheme.
You, from Donovan coming out, I mean, you talked about getting the offense fast start. You guys get that. Was it, other than the wearing down second half, did they do anything? It looked like there was maybe some more pressure on him, or did you feel like it was just allies up to?
They quit pressuring us, actually. We hit them on, they pressured us a couple of times, and we hit them on some big plays. We had opportunities to make a couple of big plays in the third quarter, and we did not. You know, I thought Donovan hung in there. You know, as the game went on, the pocket started collapsing. He started getting uncomfortable. You know, did we wear out? I don't probably. You know, did they turn things up? Probably. They've been playing Power 5 football for a long time here, you know, and they have Power 5 bodies, a lot of them. They're well coached. They needed a win, you know, so, you know, this one meant a lot to them. You know, we got to do better. You know, I thought we had a good plan. I thought we came in, we were ready to play. First half, you know, was pretty entertaining. Just didn't get it done in the second half.
From a defensive standpoint, Dana, they broke off some explosives. There were some plays that they broke a tackle.
It's missed tackles. Yeah, it's missed tackles. It is flat out missed tackles. It started on the opening kickoff, which is full of all defensive people. We missed a lot of tackles, and there's plenty of blame to go around. I mean, look at me and blame me, and coaches and offense and defense and special teams. There's plenty of blame to go around. But to answer your question, it started on the first kickoff. We had missed tackles on the opening kickoff, which was a heck of a kick by Jack. It's 2 yards into the end zone by the pylon. I mean, that guy's got to go a long ways to get out. We could have had him pinned inside the 10-yard line. You know, I mean, it's missed tackles. It's bad. Didn't get stuck on blocks, not getting off blocks, and then just carried over defensively. Where the entire first half we were stuck on blocks, and we missed tackles. You know, they started going into 4-minute mode a little bit, so we got a couple of stops, but then we decided to quit missing tackles again, you know, so that's disappointing.
So that was Houston head coach Dana Holgorsen. We saw him on the screen that some people noticed how he was whenever he began the presser. He just seems, this game was really, really draining for him. Seemed defeated might not be the right word, but that's the one that pops into my head hearing him speak. Missed tackles. That's the number one thing that he just emphasized. And again,
this comment right here.
Stuck to me. We also needed a win, Dana. Yes, that's what I was literally going to say. He said that this game meant a lot to them. And the implication of that is that, oh, I guess this game didn't mean a lot for Houston, which it should have. It haven't won a Big 12 game yet. Dana Holgorsen hasn't beaten a Big 12 opponent since he's been at Houston.
The thing that stood out to me, what he said was, this is Big 12, and we got wore down. At what point did they know you got out-executed in the second half? They did a better job at executing to the adjustments that they made, and that's how you won. It wasn't. And if it's that you got wore down, well, that goes into the coaching and your strength and conditioning. Are you not properly preparing them so they can sustain the fourth quarters? You have the experience of knowing what it takes to win in the Big 12 and the preparation that they need. So, I mean, why does he keep saying that? And then at one point he says we had years to prepare for being in the Big 12. Like, stop. That's an excuse that he needs to quit using. Watching that game, they got wore down. No, they out-coached you. They out-executed. Offense didn't execute well enough in the second half. Defense got stops in the first half. They didn't execute in the first half. And so, complementary football, the team has to complement each other in key situations and then execute in those situations to make it a competitive game and win those games.
I can make a comment if you got to go ahead on out. Go ahead, man.
Yeah, I mean, it's same old every week. Like, it's like the excuses. Even when he mentioned the blocked punt, he said, "Oh, we haven't had a punt blocked in 5 years." I mean, I don't know if I guess I'm gonna assume it's true that we haven't had one
It
blocked,
wasn't scheme, Aqib.
Was it
but yeah,
schematic?
that's
He
that
made
was
sure that
I was gonna
pointed out.
say, like,
Made sure that was
he's
pointed out.
saying that's exactly what I'm trying to point out. Is like he said, "Oh, it wasn't scheming." That's like been the theme, like these last couple of seasons. Is like it's never the scheme, it's never the coaching, and he's always just pointing fingers at the players. But yeah, that's the last thing I'm gonna say about the coaching, because I know we've been harping on that, and I gotta bounce here.
I heard, man.
Yes,
Thank you
sir.
very
No
much for your
worries
input.
out
You
there.
take care.
We're gonna wrap up in general, but
I just want to say this. This is my final comment, and then y'all can wrap it up. At what point are Dana's Chris Pesman, Tillman? At what point are they going to ask Dana? You keep saying this is Big 12 football. We lack depth, but you're the coach. You're the one who assembled this team. When are you going to take responsibility for the lack of depth that you assembled on this team, Dana? That's the problem, because they won't ask him that question.
so that might
They
be too
hired
late.
him because he had experience in the Big 12 and knowing, and so like, man, it's ridiculous.
Really, that they hired him because it was almost a guarantee he wouldn't go elsewhere after.
That too.
Especially after, not too far removed when what happened with Tom Herman. We'll put that there. We'll digress again, not to be too pessimistic. That is just the status of the program at this point. Certainly, a lot of the feelings around the program at this point. Once again, the final score: Texas Tech defeats Houston 49-28, dropping the Houston Cougars to 2-3. Quarterback Donovan Smith went 29 of 40 overall for the game, 335 yards, 4 touchdowns, no picks. Sam Brown led all receivers with 9 catches, 113 yards, but there was 11 different receivers that caught passes for Houston, and Parker Jenkins was the lead runner for the Cougars. He had 71 rushing yards on 13 carries. Donovan Smith was the second leading rusher, with 59 rushing yards. And then Tony Mathis, Brandon Campbell, Stacey Snead, they combined for 24 total yards rushing for Houston. Up next is the bye week. That was a comment earlier. I can't remember who said it, but they said maybe Houston overlooked Texas Tech for that bye week. And when you heard that clip there of Horizon saying how badly this would mean for Texas Tech, it reminded me of that comment, but I digress. We'll see if they can figure out a game plan, find some way to be able to put together a complete 4 games on October 12th against West Virginia.
No, well, they're not going to, Andy. Because this is Big 12 football, and because the Cougars are going to get worn out in the second half. So why even bother watching the second half?
Right. Ridiculous.
Well, I digress. Kris, where can people find you? As always, thank you for being a part of this show. Any closing thoughts you'd like to share?
It's basketball season, everybody. The Cougs started practice. Men's and women's team started practice. So focus on that. The football team is off until the 12th. Just focus on hoops. Rockets starting up next week as well. So it's basketball season. So just follow me on Twitter. But more and more, follow me on TikTok, Threads, and Instagram at Houston Roundball Review. Thank you, as always, for taking time to share your comments and share your passion with us here on Let's Rage Coogs.
People can follow me on X at Yanez_5. Most importantly, if you are new to the Pot Simon Jamma YouTube channel or the Houston Roundball Review YouTube channel, wherever you may be watching, be sure to hit that subscribe button. And of course, we'd like to say thank you to our sponsors. This has been Let's Rage Coogs presented by the Lazarine Law Firm. Lazarine Law Firm, make sure to contact them if you're ever in any legal troubles, whether it be false allegations or anywhere around the Harris County and Fort Bend County areas here in the greater Houston area. If you have been injured or find yourself in other legal trouble, call the Lazarine Law Firm at 281-720-8551 or visit them online at www.lazarinelawfirm.com for a consultation. Of course, thank you, Star Pizza, being a secondary sponsor on today's show with multiple locations across the Houston area. Star Pizza is your go-to spot for pizza before or after the game. And Dayon, I'll toss it over to you. As always, thank you guys for watching and being a part of this show, especially to all the viewers. We wouldn't be able to do Let's Rage Coogs without y'all.
You can find me on all social media, like it shows below, at Dayon Dunlap on all social media platforms. Thank you guys for tuning in. Appreciate the continuous support. Still going to support the football program, although basketball season is brewing, like Kris said. But let's stay the course with the football team, man. Thank you guys for tuning in. Appreciate you guys as always. Go Coogs.